Okay, yan. Sige. Start na tayo formally. Good morning again. Today we're going to calculate electric field and forces. Okay? So, parang nakakatakot, di ba? Electric field calculations. Okay. From last time, inisip natin kung ano yung magiging itsura ng electric field and electric forces from last time. Pag meron kang similar charges, ibig sabihin, they would repel each other. And if they have opposite charge, they would attract each other. Okay? Okay. Tapos, inisip din natin kung ano itsura ng electric field. And yung electric field, alam natin, it would go, wala meron kang positive charge, the electric field would just radiate out of it. Sige, sipag ko mag-drawing. Okay? So, it would radiate out of the charge. Okay, pero isipin muna natin ano ba yung mathematical intuition behind the electric force. Okay? So, let's start with the electric force. Ang alam nating usual na force would be this guy. Wait lang. Ito yung alam natin na force. And force is a vector, so lagyan natin ng arrow sa taas. Okay. Okay, so ganyan yung alam natin na force, di ba? Ang ibig sabihin nitong F is equal to ma, di ba? Kuwari may mass ka, then your mass would change its direction, change its motion kapag meron kang acceleration around it. Naglaloko yung Naglaloko yung panulat ko. Wait lang, guys. Okay, so kapag meron kang acceleration, your mass would change its motion tama. Okay? So kapag sa a very familiar example would be gravity. Okay, so kapag meron kang ground and you're here and you drop an object, alam mo na yung gravity is going downward. Okay? At 9.8 meter per second squared. Okay, so if you dropped this, or if you pag binitawan mo yung batong to, yung circle na to, yung mass na to, it would not stay there, di ba? Babagsak siya. It would go down. It would go in the direction of the acceleration, which is 9.8 meters per second squared. Now, this is for masses. Okay, so ano ba yung for electricity? For electric charge, ang force natin would be F must be equal to Q E, where E is the electric field. Okay, so E is electric field. Then Q would be your charge. Okay? So, ganun pa rin. Yung Q mo, magiging positive siya kapag positive charge. Then negative kapag negative charge. Wala tayo nun sa mass, no? Kasi parang weird nung negative mass. Okay? So, in a similar way, if there was an electric field that's pointing downward, and you're here, and you dropped a charge Q, then what would happen is that if it is positive, it would just go with the flow sa electric field mo. Okay? And if it is negative, ang mangyayari, amazingly, it would go on the other way. Okay? So, tingnan nyo itong dalawang to. They are very, very similar in form. Diba? So, ito yung particle mo. Ngayon yung particle mo. And the acceleration and the electric field is the one determining your change in motion. Okay? Pero, hindi acceleration yung electric field. No? Iba siya. Okay? Ano lang, maganda lang siyang analogy, pero it's not acceleration. Okay? Kuha. Okay. So, unang nangyari dito, tingnan natin kung ano yung forces between two charges. Okay? Tingnan natin yung forces between two charges. Kasi parang vague nito. Sir, paano namin kukunin yung E? Diba? Alam natin yung Q, madali lang yan. Given yan, probably. Pero paano yung E? Diba? So, dapat, punta muna tayo sa fundamentals. Paano ba mag-interact yung dalawang charges? Okay? So, let's start with the meme. Ayan. Kung alam nyo to. So, ito itsura nung yung gravitational force between two masses, M1, M2. And ayun yung meme. Si Coulomb, ang ginawa niya. Similarly, you have K times K, Q1, Q2 over R squared. Okay? Yung R would be the distance between those two objects, those two charges. Okay. Ayan. So, ito yung sa libro nyo. So, ito yung force. This is the magnitude, no? Magnitude lang to. Kasi sabi ko nga kanina, yung force mo, may direction dapat talaga yan. Pero, for the simplicity of the topic, it would be nice to have the magnitude. It would be nice to have the magnitude lang. Okay? At least for now. Okay? So, ito yung force between two charges, Q1 and Q2. Okay? Drawing natin kung paano ba yung itsura niya. Kung may positive ka, may negative ka, and they are separated by a distance R. Yan. Then, the force between them is this much. Okay, so 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught. So pi is pi. Epsilon naught would be this constant. Okay, 8.854 times 10 to the negative 12. Masyado maliit. Yes. And then, this whole thing, yung 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught, we usually write it as K. Okay, so ito yung mean, di ba? K siya. So, yung 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught, it's K. Okay, itong epsilon naught, nasa calculator nyo yan. Kung gusto nyo hanapin, kung gusto nyo exact value. So, ito yung K. But I would, okay lang sa akin na gamitin nyo yung K is equal to 9 times 10 to the 9. Okay? Newton meter squared, Coulomb squared. Okay, so yung C ay Coulomb. Ayan, si Coulomb. And it is the unit of charge. Okay? Okay. Yan. Okay. Sir, ano itsura ng anong itsura ng force kapag may direction na? So kapag may direction na, ang force ay F K. Okay? Hindi ko na sulat yung masyado mahaba yung 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught and kinatamad tayo. So Q1, Q2, R squared, R hat. Okay? So yung nag-math naman na kayo. So ibig sabihin kapag kapag ito ay may hat, ayan, hat symbol, ibig sabihin yan ay direction. Okay? Kapag may arrow sa taas, that is a vector. Okay? So, ano yung direction ng R hat? So, yung direction ng R hat would be yung direction kung nasaan nakalagay yung R. So, for this guy, for these two guys here, so the force of attraction or the repulsion would be between them. Ayan. Okay? Okay. So, kapag dito, kuwari ito ay Q, ito ay negative Q, the force is actually F is equal to K negative Q over R squared R hat KQ squared over R squared. Tapos, ang usually kong ginagawa ay pinagsasama ko yung negative sign at yung direction. Okay, so ayan. Para it tells me that, okay, ito yung force ko. Gano'n siya kalakas. That would be this guy. And anong direction niya? It would be this one. So, ano ibig sabihin ng negative R hat? Ang negative R hat would mean that yung direction nila ay actually paloob. Okay? They would be attracted to each other. Okay? So, they would be attracted to each other. Okay. Okay. So, ngayon, tignan natin. Ang nice thing about this is, pinresent ko na agad sa inyo kung ano yung itsura ng force ng gamit yung electric field. Okay? So, kapag finactor out mo yung isang charge, okay, pwede mo mapalabas yung electric field. So, ganito lang yan. F must be equal to Q. Factor out ko lang, no? Okay, so lagyan natin kuwari ng 1. Okay, Q2 over R squared R hat. Okay, so this term is your electric field. Okay? And this is your force and this is your charge. Ito yung charge in question. Itong charge na to, yung Q2, ayun yung tinitignan mo na nagbibigay ng field. Okay? Mas maganda siya tignan, di ba, na gets mo agad na this is a force on 2 on 1. Okay? Kasi si 2 nagbibigay siya ng electric field and that would affect 1. Okay? So, charge 1. Okay? Kuha. Wala pa naman malabo. Kung may malabo, mag-chat kayo. Pwede naman kayong mag-send ng PM sa akin. Kung nahihiya kayo mag-chat to everyone. Okay? So, ayan. Okay. Ganito ako mag-solve, no? Inuna ko yung electric field. Then, I would just multiply the charge in question. Okay? So, the best way to learn is to throw yourselves into the fire. Try natin mag-example. Okay? So, 2-point charges. 2-point charges are located on the x-axis of a coordinate system. Okay? And then, drawing natin na parang madali. So, ano ba ito? Okay. Drawing tayo ng coordinate system. Pwede nyo kasabayan mag-solve if you want. This is y, this is x. Okay? And then, Q1 daw, yung unang charge mo would be at x equal to 2 centimeters and 4 centimeters. Okay. So, this is 2. Sabihin natin this is 4. Okay, makes sense naman. cm. And then, si Q1 would be on 2. So, this is Q1. And this is Q2. Okay? Tapos, 1 nanocoulomb. 1 nanocoulomb. And the other one is negative 3 nanocoulomb. Tapos, ang tanong ay, tatanungin sa atin kung ano electric force exerted by Q1 and Q2 on charge 3. Okay. Q3. Q3 would be 5 nanocoulomb. Okay. Okay. First things first. Sir, ang diniscuss mo lang sa amin ay dalawang charge. Paano pag tatlong charge, sir? Okay. Ang electric force and electric field, they would obey superposition. Okay? They would obey superposition. So, ang mangyayari kapag superposition, type natin. Superposition. Okay, superposition. Ang ibig sabihin lang yan is that nag-add normally yung mga electric field and forces. Okay. Okay, so nag-add sila normally. Kuwari, the total force on object 1 is the forces that are given by 2, by 3, by 4, and so on. So forth. Okay? So in this case, the total electric force on Q3 would just be the addition of Q1 and Q2. Okay? So hindi siya makakapag-exert ng force sa sarili niya. No? In the same way, hindi natin mabubuhat yung sarili natin. Parang ganun lang. Okay? So yung F3, the force on 3 would just be the force of 1 on 3 plus force 2 on 3. Kuha ba? Malinaw pa? Malinaw. Okay, so those are all vectors. Okay, so those are all vectors. Start tayo systematically. Gawin natin si F1 on 3. Okay? Force of 1 on 3. Okay? So si F1 on 3 would be Q3 yung in question ko, di ba? Tapos the electric field of 1. Okay? Okay. So tingnan ko muna tong si Q1. Paano yung electric field niya, guys? Di ba radially outward? Okay. Pag ganun siya. Kasi positive naman ako, di ba? So at the direction of Q3, paano yung direction niya? To the left. Okay? To the left. So ibig sabihin nun, kapag to the left, tapos nasa x-axis naman tayo, ibig sabihin, negative x hat yung direction niya. Okay? So sulat ko muna yun. E1 vector is just k, yung 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught. Tapos, the charge na nagpo-produce nun would be Q1. Okay? Tapos, negative x hat. Tapos, paano yung baba? R squared yung baba, di ba? R squared. So, the distance between Q1 and Q3. Q1 and Q3. So, that's 2. Okay. So, that's... Okay, balik tayo. Tingnan natin. 2 cm, di ba? So, ang gagawin mo, kailangan lagi, para safe, ililipat mo sa meters. Okay, so yung mga nano, tatanggalin mo yun. Ililipat mo lang sa normal notation. Okay, so ito ay squared dapat to. Tapos, 2 centimeters, ano yun sa meters? So, that's 0.02. 0.02 meters. Okay. Okay. So, sulat lang natin yung mga values nila. Yung K mo would be 9 times 10 to the 9th power. Tapos, ang units niya, Newton, meter squared, coulomb squared. Okay? And then, the charge would be 1 nanocoulomb. So, that's 1 times 10 to the negative 9 coulomb over 0.02 meter squared. Okay? Tapos, negative x hat. It would be nice na simulan mo na sa mga units para hopefully tama yung units mo, di ba? So, yung electric field natin has the units of Newton per coulomb. So, dapat ay yung makukuha natin. Okay? So, yung meter squared would cancel out. Cancel out. Kasi may square siya, di ba? Tapos, ang matitira na lang ay Newton, tapos magka-cancel yung isang coulomb, so Newton per coulomb. Tama tayo. Newton per coulomb, tapos negative x hat. Okay, so ito yung mga hindi ko kailangan i-solve muna. Sinulat ko lang muna sa gilid, then solve tayo ng mga kailangan i-solve. Okay, for the numerator, para neat lang itsura. For the numerator, it's nice, no? Kasi 10 times 10 to the negative 9th power, tas times 10 to the 9th power. So, magka-cancel sila. Ganda. So, that's just 9 times 1. So, that's 9 times 0.02 squared. Now, hindi ko alam kung ano yung 0.02 squared, pero ika-calculator ko. And then, yung lalabas, kapag kinalculate ko itong buong to, that would be 22,500 Newton per coulomb. Tapos, in direction niya would be negative x. Okay? Okay. Now, this is just the electric field. Okay? I would want the force. So, the force would be Sir, tanong lang po, bakit negative x hat, hindi po siya plus x hat since both charges are positive, so repulsion. Okay? Okay. Medyo nakakalito pala yung ginawa ko, no? Naglipat ako bigla sa, ano, okay. Okay. Sige, explain natin. Sir, may nagtanong sa atin, no? Bakit daw negative x hat yung force? Pero kasi dapat, sir, di ba, dapat positive kasi repulsion niya. Okay. Tingnan natin. I-isolate natin yung drawing. Ito yung Q3. Ito yung Q1. Okay? So, si anong field na gini-give off ng Q1? This way. Tama. Drawing akong ganyan. Kasi ito ay si Q1 ay positive. Tama. Si Q1 ay positive. Si Q3 positive din. So, gini-give off nito pag ganyan. Ganyan. Okay? Diba? Okay. Ngayon, tingnan nyo maigi kung paano yung forces, paano yung fields nila, or forces na lang. Sige, isipin nyo. Pwede rin naman kasing direction of forces itong mga to. So, how would Q3 affect Q1? It would push it towards plus x. Q3 would push Q1 to the positive x. Okay? And Q1 would push Q3 to the negative x hat. Okay? So, ano nangyayari? May repulsion ba sila? Okay, it would seem that yes. Diba? Kasi Q3 would push this guy to the right and Q1 would push Q3 to the left. Okay? Okay, so it makes sense na ngayon repulsion yung nangyayari. Pero, dahil nga kanina sinabi ko, ito, medyo nakakalito to. Okay? So, kapag gumamit ka ng R hat, ibig sabihin hindi mo alam yung coordinate system mo. Ibig sabihin hindi sila naka-lie down on X, naka-lie down on Y. And the only thing you can say that is alam mo lang yung distance nilang R between them. Alam mo lang yung R between them. Okay. So yung ang makukuha mo lang na direction would be R hat, 'di ba? Kasi wala kang namang X hat, hindi mo alam, wala kang coordinate system in hand. Okay? So to denote a repulsion kapag R hat ang gamit mo, that would be plus. Okay? So kapag yung attraction naman, it's actually going this way. And it would be represented by negative r hat. Okay? Okay. Medyo nakakalito siya for now. Pero, ayan. Medyo nakakalito, no? Okay, so ayan. Medyo nalinawan naman siya ata. Okay. But for now, if you have a... kasi itong r hat notation na sinasabi ko, it's for higher physics na siya. And yung r hat kasi ay, okay, kuwari ang meron kang coordinate system. Kung familiar kayo sa spherical coordinate system, ayan yung r hat. Okay, so kuwari may x ka, x, y, ay, y lang. Okay, so kung may x and y ka, tapos ang r mo is actually a radial distance between the origin and some point. So this is, kung pupunta ka at that point, that would be r. That would be r, okay? And it would be accompanied by an angle. And this is for another topic. Okay? Sinasabi ko lang na ayan yung ano niya, ayan yung itsura niya. Sir, question. Okay. Bakit po naka-attach kay r hat yung attraction or repulsion when it's the unit radial vector po? Hindi po ba dependent on the position lang siya? What do you mean? Hindi ko magets yung question. Ito ba yung... Ang point mo ba is hindi nagme-make sense yung... Okay, sige. Kuwari, kasi medyo... Ano lang to itong negative r hat dito would be a preference of mine. Okay? Okay, ang naiintindihan ko po kasi, okay. Okay, so ang ano kasi, ang positive r hat is, kuwari meron kang, meron kang vector r here. Ang positive r hat would be this direction. Ang negative r hat would be this direction. Okay? Okay, kung naalala nyo pa yung math nyo, tapos yung theta may direction din yan, ang theta direction would be positive for counterclockwise, then negative for counterclockwise. Ay, clockwise. Okay, di ba? Negative for clockwise, then positive for counterclockwise. Okay. Kaya ako siya sinabi na negative r hat for attraction kasi kapag ganyan yung gamit mong coordinate system, may x and y ka. So if you position your charge, in the origin, and you have another charge at some place, okay, so they are, pwede mo siyang i-denote yung position ng charge na yon at that point. And it would, you can see that, sabi ko nga, yung plus r hat would be on this direction, radially outward, and radially inward yung negative r hat. Okay? So, itong dalawang to, they are attracting kapag negative r hat. Okay, so if you convert the math, kapag kino-convert mo yung math, kuwari, nilipat mo to dito at this point. Okay? Negative r hat pa rin siya. Negative r hat pa rin siya. And if you convert it, kung ano yung nararamdaman na force nitong nasa origin mo, makukuha mo na negative x hat siya. Okay? If you do the math. But that seems all too troublesome, di ba? Kung imagine mo na lang na ganito. Okay? Imagine mo na lang na yung mga positive charges, they would radiate electric field out. Therefore, yung force ni Q1 on Q3 would be going to the left. That's easier, right? Wala ka nang isosolve. Okay? Okay. So, ayan. Going back, medyo na ano tayo na, okay lang yung mga tanong na gano'n na, kaysa mag-proceed tayo tapos nagkagulo-gulo na pala lahat. Okay, so this is E1, the vector E1. And then the force would be F1 on 3. And that is Q3 times yung E1 vector mo. Okay? And you're done with the directions kasi nakakuha mo na siya sa electric field mo. You just have to multiply the charge, Q3. Okay? And Q3 is just, what is Q3? 5 nanocoulombs. Let's write that down. 5 times 10 to the negative 9 coulombs. Then this is yung E mo. Okay, ito isusulat ko siya in a more useful notation. Sulat natin siya sa scientific notation. So that's 22.5 times 10 to the 3. Okay? Na newtons per coulomb. And nice, no? Kasi magka-cancel yung coulomb and we're left with newtons, which is the unit for force. Okay? Okay, ba't ko nilipat pa yung, ba't ko pa nilipat yung notation ko sa scientific notation? Kasi di ba mas madali kapag naka-multiple of 3 yung powers ng scientific notation mo. Okay? Kasi ang lalabas dito, kapag multiply ko na sila, would be 12.5 times 10 to the negative 6 newtons. And I know I know yung times 10 to the negative 6 ko is micro. So that's 12.5 times micro newtons. Okay? Oops, sir, you forgot something. Negative x hat. Okay, sorry, wala. Yeah. Okay, negative x hat, negative x hat. Okay, yeah. All right? So that's just part 1. Part 2, F2 on 3. Okay? F2 on 3 naman would be similar way lang, F2 on 3. So, Q3 pa rin. Tapos, kailangan ko na lang hanapin si E2. Okay? So, ano yung electric field na ginigive off ni Q2. Okay? Si Q2 ay negatively charged. So, it would attract. It would radially pa rin, pero the other way around. So, this guy is attracting everything inwards. Okay? So, ano yung dulot niyang force kay Q3? That's plus x hat. Okay? Plus x hat. Kuha ba yan? Kasi dito, titingnan nyo yung direction, it would attract pag ganun siya dito. Okay? So yung long range effect niya would be dragging Q3 to the right. So let's just write that down. So E2, we have E2. Lagay mo na agad yung ano niya, no? Lagay mo na agad yung direction niya. Plus X hat. Okay. Sa libro nyo pala, baka malito kayo bigla. Sa libro nyo pala, ang notation ay, ang X hat nila ay I hat. Then yung Y hat ay J hat. And then yung Z hat is K hat. Okay, IJK yung gamit. But, I don't like this. I don't like this IJK. Kasi they're not very intuitive, di ba? Kasi, wala lang. Pag naisip mo agad yung X hat, nakatutok sa X. Y hat, nakatutok sa Y. It's as simple as that. Okay, so, lagay lang natin yung mga kailangan natin. Q, KQ, KQ2 over R squared. Yung R mo, in this case, is the distance between the Q3 and Q2. So that's 4 centimeters. Then 3 nanocoulombs yung charge. Sulat na natin yung mga values. 9 times 10 to the 9th power. Tapos si Q2 ay negative 3. Tama ba? Negative 3 nanocoulombs. Nano joke. Times 10 to the negative 9 over 0.04 squared. Then I know that my electric field is in units ng Newton per coulomb. Tapos, huwag natin kalimutan ang direction. Ay, plus pala. Plus X. Okay? Okay, so calculate nyo. Numerator, madali lang kasi 27 lang siya, negative. Diba? Mas magka-cancel lang yung 10 times 10 raised to 9 and 10 raised to negative 9. And you're left with 16,875 newtons per coulomb. Then, that's for X. Okay? Then, the force would just be multiplying Q3 to this amount. Okay? And then, so, force is just Q3 would be 5 times 10 to the negative 9. Tapos, susulat ko ulit siya in an easier way of doing it. 16,875. 875 times 10 to the 3. And this actually gives me 84.375 micronewtons. Okay? Then the direction would be plus X hat. Okay. Alright. Yawi. Yung gagawin mo na lang superposition. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, i-add nyo lang kapag superposition. So the total force on 3 would be force due to 1 and force due to 2. Okay. So let's collate our answers. So 112.5, 1, the force on 3 is 112.5 minus X hat, in direction minus X hat, plus this much, 84.375. 84.375 X hat. Then your units is micronewtons. Okay? And we can further simplify this. Okay guys, pag vector, di ba, pag magkasama naman yung unit vectors mo, they would simply just add. Okay, so ma-factor out mo sa x hat din, and you're left with negative 112.5 plus 84.375. That's all in x hat as micronewtons. Okay, so do the calculations, and this would give you 28.125 negative x hat. Okay, so negative, syempre dapat sagot mo yung negative kasi mas malaki yung negative number. Okay, so negative 28.125 x hat or 28.125, tapos pointing to the negative x hat direction, micronewtons. Okay, let's evaluate our answer if it does make sense. Okay, just by looking at the brute numbers, tingnan mo yung mga numbers, yung multiplication ng dalawa, kasi di ba yung force I, multiplication ng dalawang charge. So therefore, yung makikita mo kung sino yung may mas malaking effect on each other. Okay? So 5 times 3 is definitely larger. 15. Okay? Mag-ano ka lang, magdududa ka lang kapag magkakalapit yung mga numbers. For this guy, medyo magkakalayo yung numbers nila. Kasi this is 5. Kung multiply mo lang yung mga charge, 5. Tapos, pag multiply mo yung 5 and negative 3, that's negative 15. Okay? Okay, so mas malakas yung attraction or mas malakas yung repulsion ng ano. Okay. Okay, so ano sagot natin? Okay, negative 28. Turns out, mas malakas yung tulak ni Q1 kasi mas malapit siya. Okay? Tingnan nyo yung dependence R squared din. Mas malapit, mas malakas. Okay. Okay. So na-overpower nung 15. Na-overpower yung 5 nung 15 dahil sa distance ng 2. Okay. Sige. Medyo kaya pa ba? Kaya pa? Okay. So proceed tayo with another example. For example lang tayo para hindi naman tayo masyadong lost in life. Okay. So let's have another example. Drawing ulit tayo. Drawing. As usual. Para hindi ka mahirapan in life. Ngayon, kanina kasi 'di ba on single line lang tayo. Paano kapag meron ng other directions? Oops. Pangit yung drawing. Okay. Matabi ni. Yan. Okay. Sige. X and Y. Tapos, ano meron tayo? 2 equal positive charges, Q1, Q2, 2 microcoulombs, located at x0, y.3 meters. So, meron ka daw sa 0.3 and another one at negative 0.3. Okay? So, nasa baba siya. And you have charges there of 2 microcoulombs. So, drawing tayo ng green for charges. And that's 2 microcoulombs. 2 microcoulombs. And now, saan siya maka-apekto? So, ang tanong ay, what are the magnitude and the direction of the total electric force that Q1 and Q2 exert on a third charge Q? So may third charge ka daw Q at 0.4 meter. Okay? So this is at 0.4. Okay. So naka-meter na lahat, which is nice. The problema na lang natin would be yung microcoulomb. So times 10 to the negative 6 ang micro. Then yung charge would have 4 microcoulombs. Okay. 0.4, tama naman. Then y at 0. Okay. So naka-lie down siya sa x-axis. Now, intuitively, paano natin ito solve? Drawing mo muna yung ine-emit na electric field. Yung mga charges mo. So that would be radially outward. Okay. Okay, gets yun naman drawing, guys. Okay. So in essence, yung paganyan siya. In essence, okay. So drawing natin ng line connecting them. Another line connecting them. Okay, so lahat naman ay positive charge. So they would repel all. So si Q1 would exert. Okay, parehas lang naman. Q1 ito. Q2. This is FQ1. 1 on 3. Joke, wala palang 3. Q pala siya. Okay, and this one is F2 on. Okay, linaw pa. Okay, so ayun yung mga kailangan nating alamin. Si 1 on Q tsaka si 2 on Q. Okay? Okay. So, let's try to do this. Again, the force on Q, the FQ, would just be the sum of those two. F1 on Q plus F2 on Q. Okay? Linaw? Okay. Okay. Sige. Now, let's do F1 on Q. F1 on Q. That would be Q times yung E1. Diba? Diba? F is equal to QE. So, paulit-ulit lang tayo. Ganun lang ulit gagawin mo. Now, we have to solve E1. Okay? Now, wala kang direction na magagamit for now kasi hindi sila nakalapat sa X and Y direction. So, ang gagawin mo is that you have to solve for magnitudes ka lang muna for now. At least, ito yung suggested way of doing it. Let me grab my scratch. So, E1 would be K times Q1 and yung R squared mo. What is R squared? Yan na problema. Okay, so R squared would be, yung R mo would be this distance. Okay, and i-drawing lang natin dito muna sa gilid na may triangle ka. Okay. May triangle ka na mayroong 0.3 na height and mayroong 0.4 na length. Therefore, what is the hypotenuse? Our friendly Pythagorean theorem would help us, di ba? So, by the Pythagorean theorem, so 0.3 plus squared, 0.4 squared. So, it's actually c squared. What is c? You'd find that c is actually 0.5. Okay? Okay? Buo pa yan. Sige, try nyo sa calculator nyo na para sure. Okay? So, hindi ko na try nyo naman na. So, this is 0.05. Ay, 0.5 pala. Sorry. So, 0.5. And we have to plug in things now. So, 9 times 10 to the 9 as usual. Then, Q1 would be 2 microcoulombs. So that's 2 times 10 to the negative 6. Nakapagod, no? Times 10 to the negative 6 microcoulombs. Okay? Then 0.05 squared, that would be 0.25. Okay? Kalahati ng 0.5, di ba? So, plug in mo na lahat sa throw it in your calculator. And you'd find that this is actually 72 times 10 to the 3. Okay? Okay. So if you're gonna get the force that you need, so F1 on Q would be multiplying Q to that number. Ano yung Q natin? 4 microcoulomb. So 4 times 10 to the negative 6 and 72 times 10 to the 3. Diba? Ang nice nung paglalagay mo in multiples of 3 ng exponential power. This is 288 times 10 negative 3 newtons. Kasi force na tayo and this is 0.288. Newtons. Okay? Well, pwede ka naman dito na maglagay. Millinewtons. Di ba? Millinewtons. Okay? So, yan. So, ito yung unang force. Okay. In a similar way, kung itingnan nyo, same lang din yung makukuha mong magnitude ng force ng 2 on Q. Tama ba? Kasi same lang yung numbers mo. You have 0.3. May pabaliktad kang triangle, which is actually the same lang din, di ba? Baliktarin mo man yan. Ganun pa rin naman yung Pythagorean theorem. This is negative 0.3, di ba? 0.4. Tapos, kukunin mo tong hypotenuse, di ba i-square mo naman siya? I-square mo yung 0.3. So, square ng negative 0.3, ganun pa rin. Kasi yung square ng negative number is just 1. Therefore, this is the same 0.5. Then, the charge are the same, 2 microcoulombs. Then 4 microcoulombs, the distance 0.5, same. Therefore, you see that the magnitude is the same without even actually calculating for it. 288 times 10 to the negative 3 newtons or 0.288 newtons. Anong difference sa kanila, di ba? Anong difference sa kanila? Yung si F1 on Q, it's pointing diagonally downward. And the other one, 2 on Q, would be upward diagonal. Okay. Ang problema mo lang ngayon yung direction. Kasi alam mo yung force, yung magnitude would be this, guys. Ang problema ngayon is how would you express it? How would you express the directions on it? Okay. The nice thing that you can do is make use of angles. Okay. So, yung angle dito, so simulan natin sa 1 on Q, no? Yung angle dito, Tawagin natin silang alpha or theta na lang. Para cute. Theta. Oops. Nangyari. Okay. Ayan. Burahin natin. Gawin natin theta. Theta na lang. Theta. Okay? Yung theta na to, madali siyang kunin kasi meron kang values ng yung height, yung opposite, adjacent, tas yung hypotenuse, di ba meron ka? Nasolve na natin kasi kanina yung mga yun. Okay, so it would be useful for us to use that angle. We don't actually need to calculate the angle. Ang kailangan mo lang is yung mga cosine and sine niya. And yung cosine and sine would be, cosine theta would be easy kasi ito ay adjacent, which is yung 0.4 over yung hypotenuse, which is 0.5. Diba? And then yung sine theta, we don't actually need to calculate theta. We just need the sine and cosine, etc., etc. So this is the opposite, which is yung dito, titignan nyo. Ano yung opposite nito? Ito yung tangkad niya, which is 0.3 and 0.5 yung hypotenuse still. Okay, so how does this work in our favor? Okay, by geometry, titingnan mo na ito ay theta din. Tama ba? Tama ba? Diba? Itong theta to, theta rin to, dito. Okay? That's geometry kasi kapag meron kang line, meron kang x na, so this guy, theta, is actually the same yung mga opposite angles. And this guy, alpha, tawagin natin. The same with the other side, alpha. Okay? So that's geometry kung naalala nyo pa. Okay? So weird naman kasi kung ang hirap pala maging mathematician, no? Kasi hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na obvious naman yung proof, di ba? So, hindi ka pwedeng magsabing obvious proof siya. Pero by obviousness, kung hindi sila pantay, diba? Theta, tas mas malaki na theta prime. Okay. Kung ganyan, hindi na siya straight. Hindi na siya straight line, di ba? So, kung magkaiba sila ng angle. Okay? Since straight lines sila, two straight intersecting lines, by obviousness. Buti na lang di tayo math students. Okay, by obviousness, dapat equal yung angles on the opposite sides, opposite parts. Okay? And when we have a okay. So okay, hindi pa rin siya useful sa atin for now. Pero ito papakita ko sa inyo. Okay. So when you have a two lines, rays, okay? May two lines or rays ka, separated by an angle, theta. Makikita mo yung mga shadows ng mga rays mo na to, okay? So, kapag may theta kang ganyan, ang gagawin mo, kuwari ito, alam mo to na ito ay si F, okay? So, you can actually get the shadow of F on that line. Kukunin mo ngayon yung this part. So, yung kuwari, ito ay X. Okay? So, kuwari yan ay X. So, makukuha mo si Fx or yung shadow niya, yung drop shadow niya by using that angle. So, that is Fx is just F cosine theta. Okay? Dahil si cosine yung may adjacent, di ba? So, katawa. So, ito yung adjacent niya, si Fx. So, siya yung useful part, siya yung shadow part. Okay? So, when you need to get the height of it, the height naman, sa kabilang side, makuha mo yung height. Para may coordinate ka dito, may y ka, makukuha mo yung height niya or yung shadow niya doon sa kabila by using the sign. Okay? So, meron kang Fy. And that Fy is given by F sine theta. Okay? And now, mas madali, di ba? Kasi may Fx ka na and may Fy ka na. Madaling mag-attach ng direction. Tama ba? Kasi you know Fx points in x hat and you know Fy points in y hat. Okay? So now let's go back to our problem. So we have F1 on Q. And F1 on Q is this guy. Ito naka-point downward, diagonally downward. Okay? And ito yung theta niya. So if you want to get the x part, okay, kunin mo yung x part, that would be, kukunin mo lang yung F1 on Q cosine. So, sulat lang ulit natin. F1 on Q cosine theta, okay, is just yung 0.288 mo. 0.288 newtons. Tapos, multiplyan mo no cosine theta mo. Dahil yung cosine theta kasi, cosine theta nga, sabi natin, ito sila. 0.4 and 0.5. Okay? Kuha ba? Okay. Sir, ba't ganun gagamitin nyo? Eh, di ba naka-negative dapat to? Okay. So, try mo. Try natin. Nawala ako. Where am I? Ayan. Going back. Nakalimutan ko yung mga numbers. Sorry. Okay. Sa cosine theta, hindi mo kailangan ni negative kasi yung 0.4 yung gamit mo, which is itong length na ito. Okay. Mamaya tayo gagamit nung 0. Yung negative kasi ito yung 0.3 yung may kaakibat na negative number. Okay? So ba? Kasi itong 0.4 ay dito. Itong part na to. Okay? Yung part na yan. Which is similar to this guy. Positive pa rin yan. So no problem on cosine. So 0.4 over 0.5. So 0.4 over 0.5. And this gives you 0.2304. Okay. 0.2304. Then, the other one. Kukunin mo ngayon yung... So, ito na yung F1 on Q. X part. Okay? F1 on Q, Y. Gagawin mo lang is F1 on Q. Then, get the sine theta. Okay? So, that's 0.288 newtons. Then, we have to use negative 0.3. 0.5 kasi mapapansin nyo, sabi ko nga, nakababa yung negative 0.3 na gagamitin mo. Nandito siya sa baba. And it makes sense na downward yung Fy dapat mo, di ba? So, this is negative 0.172. 0.0172. Okay? So, that's the other one. In a similar way, alam mo na same lang yung values na i-calculate mo. Makuha mo na. This is just 0.2304. 0.2304. Tapos, ang magbabago is yung y part ng 2 on q. So, this is 2 on q. Dapat 2 ito. Muscle memory. I'm sorry. Sine theta. And ang mangyayari ngayon is 0.288 newtons times 0.3, 0.5 over 0.5. Bakit hindi na negative? Kasi going back, ang gagamitin mo na for the 2 on q would be this height or this opposite. Kasi di ba opposite over hypotenuse. So this part, ayun, 0.3 positive yan. Okay. Nice. So this actually positive 0.1728. Okay. Now we have to combine our answers in a nice, neat way. Okay, so we can now write the vector 1 on q and vector 2 on q. Okay, so this is actually just f1 on q x, yung kinalculate mo kanina, times yung direction na ngayon, x hat, which is easier, di ba? f2 on, yes, 1 on q, y times y hat, and similarly, the other guy would have the same form. X hat plus f2 on q, y hat. Okay? Dali, di ba? Just write them nicely. Meron kang x hat. Meron kang y hat. The other side, meron ka rin ganun. Okay, so we just fill them up with our answers. 0.2304, 0.2304, 0.2304, 1728, 01728. Then the other guy is negative 01728, and all of them have newtons for units. Okay? So the total force would be the sum. Diba? Sabi nga natin, F on Q or FQ in short, is just F1 on Q plus F2 on Q. And if we're gonna add those up, mag-add lang yung X part, mag-add lang yung Y part. So the X part is 0.4608 X hat. And then the other one is, nice. Cancel out. Tama? Cancel. So walang Y part. So this is your answer. Okay. Evaluate. Evaluate ka ngayon. Does it make sense? Okay? So it makes sense na itutulak nung dalawang positive charge to the right yung another positive charge. Kasi they would repel each other. Okay? So to the right yung force na mararamdaman nito. And it makes sense lalo na wala siyang Y component, wala siyang vertical component, kasi may symmetry sa system mo. Ibig sabihin nun, yung Q1 mo nakalagay siya sa 0.3, tapos Q2 mo nakalagay siya sa negative 0.3. Therefore, yung distance nila between large Q is the same, di ba? 0.5, nakuha natin, 0.5, 0.5. And they have the same magnitude. The same magnitude, si Q1 and si Q2. Okay? So therefore, itutulak ni Q2 pataas si large Q, tutulak ni Q1 si large Q pababa in the same effort. So they would cancel out. Okay? Kung nakita mo na yon in the beforehand of your solutions, okay, they would cancel out. Mapapansin mo by symmetry. You can always invoke that in your solution, okay? If ma-prove mo sa akin na, sir, parehas naman sila ng magnitude, parehas naman sila distance with each other, magkaiba lang sa kanila would be the direction, the y-hat direction. Okay? For the simplification of your solution, they would just cancel out by symmetry. Okay? So, ang dami nating effort para makuha lang si y. Tapos magka-cancel out lang. Okay? So, ayan, pag pinagtitripan kami ng mga prof namin pag mga physics major. So, papahirapan kanila, no? Tapos zero, yung lalabas lang na sagot, 0. Usual yun sa, namin, sa amin. Mga applied physics major. Pag napagtripan ka lang, 0 yung sagot. Okay. So, gising pa ba kayo? Sana gising pa kayo. So, ito, 2 charges, 10 coulombs and 1 coulomb. Separated by 1 meters. What is the force on the 10C charge? What is the force on the 1C charge? Express your answer in terms of K. So, okay. Sige, magtatanong tayo. Leia, are you there, Leia?
Yes po.
Okay, nandiyan ka. Ano yung mga possible answers? In terms of K. Di ba?
Ating charges 10 and what is ano po?
Ano yung mga possible answer?
What is the force on the 1C charge in terms of K?
Ibig sabihin ng
po?
Okay, go.
Ano po? Since two positive ang dalawa. So like kung positive. K over ano po? What is the force on the 2 charges? K.
Okay, sige, tulungan kita.
K lang po.
Okay. Tulungan kita. Ano yung denominator? Ano yung denominator mo?
R squared.
Okay, ano yung R?
Separation.
Okay, 1. So, 1 squared ay?
1.
Okay, 1.
K lang yung sagot.
Okay. So, tapos yung numerator, Q1 times Q2.
May numerator pa pala! Oh my God, 10. 10K. It's just above pa.
Okay. So, Okay. So, what is the force on the 10 coulomb charge? So, okay na, lipat na ako ng tao. Sinong mga... Si Ren.
Sir?
Okay. What is the force on the 10 coulomb charge?
Wait, sir. $90 times 10 to the 9th Newton.
Okay. Wag natin gamitin yung Gamitin lang natin siya as K. Okay. Wag na natin siya i-express.
Wait, what's the question? Sir?
Ayun yung unang tanong. What is the force on the 10 coulomb charge?
Yung 10K po.
Okay. 10K. Sagot mo. Okay. Do you need help with others? Sino iba-volunteer mo?
Wait po, sir.
Ano? Give up na, give up na. You need help?
K lang po pala.
Okay, sige, sige. Okay, tanong tayo ng iba. Si Ray. Hello, Ray. Are you there, Ray?
Hello po, sir.
What is the force on the 10 coulomb charge?
Korean State. Hindi ko pa 10K pa rin.
Okay, 10K, sige. Kinokollect ako yung mga sagot niya.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Sino pa? Dalawa pa. Si Christiana, are you there?
Yes po.
Okay, what is the force on the 10 coulomb charge?
10K?
Okay, sige. Okay. Last one. Si Kendrick.
Sir, 10K rin pero di ko po sure kasi since force dapat may direction pero di ko po talaga sure kung paano siya integrate sa 10K na sagot. Pwede mag-volunteer lang ng tao, sir.
Okay, sige. Okay, so, okay, thank you. Okay. Maral, are you there?
Hello, sir. Yes.
Okay, what is the force on the 1 coulomb charge?
Sir? Same lang, sir. 10K
Anong
lang.
same? Okay, 10K.
Opo.
Okay. Jeremy. Joke. Dalawa pala yung Jeremy. Si Sean.
Hello po, sir.
Okay,
Ano ba
nandiyan
yung
ka ba? Ano yung force on the 1 coulomb charge? Itong sa 1 coulomb charge.
Sa 1 column po, sir, I think 10K po.
Okay. Thank you. And then, si Crisandro. Are you there?
Hello po, sir.
Ano yung force sa 1 coulomb charge?
Ayun po, sir. Since yung magnitude would be 10K, pero since force, so dapat may direction. So,
Okay.
that would be 10K in the direction na 180 degrees from the 10 coulomb charge.
Okay. Sige. Okay. Thank you. Okay, guys. Trick question lang to, no? So, sinulat na nga natin yung sagot. 10K yung sagot. 10K, yes. Either way, ang mafe-feel ni 10 coulomb charge would be 10K. Then, the force on the 1 coulomb charge is also 10K. Okay? And they are repulsive. Okay, so repulsive. So, the direction is away from each other. Okay, so they push each other by a force of 10K coulombs. 10K newtons. Okay? Okay. Na same way, tayo, we have our weight, di ba? Our weight is our mass times gravity. So we exert our weight to the earth the same way the earth exerts a weight towards us. Okay? So parehas lang kayo nang ina-exert ng force ng earth, pati yung weight mo sa earth. Okay? Ganun lang yan. Ganito rin sa electromagnetic electric fields. Okay, electric forces, ganun din, parehas lang yung ina-exert na force ng dalawang charge mo in question. Okay? So Q1, Q2. Same lang yung ina-exert nilang force towards each other. Laking trick question to sa Physics 72, sa Physics 62. Okay? Lagi binibigyan sila ng malaking charge tapos maliit na charge. And malilito yung mga students na mas malaki dapat yung mararamdaman ng maliit kasi tinatamaan siya ng malaki. Okay? So hindi. Equal yung force na mararamdaman. Okay? Kuha ba yan? So that's on record. Okay. Okay, so wag malilito, ha? Wag malilito. Mga ganyan yung mga tanong sa exam. Sana, mga ganyan kadadali. No? Okay. Now, to further evaluate your answers, you must know how to draw electric field lines. Drawing tayo ng mga drawing muna. Okay? So, paano pag may dalawa kang charge? How do things work? Paano yung electric field lines nila? Kuwari lang yan. May plus ka. So, meron. Don't judge my drawing. Oh my God. Yeah. Kuwari equal yung length ng mga lines. No? Okay, this is the electric field lines. No? Lagyan natin E para malino. Paano kapag may another charge? Paano yung electric field lines nila? Mag-intersect ba? Paano yung ano natin? Okay. So, there's actually a way of drawing things. Okay, so this is wrong. Okay, this is wrong. Okay, so the actual way to do it is that yung positive to negative, if there are different charges, okay, so positive to negative, and then electric field lines don't intersect. The field lines don't intersect. Okay? So, how do we do it? Drawing tayo. Plus, another plus. Sige, plus muna. Okay? So, ang electric field lines niyan, radially pa rin, but you have to avoid each other. Okay? So, ang madaling i-drawing muna, yung walang interaction. Would be these guys. Okay? They have to avoid each other. So, mangyayari sa electric field lines nila is gaganto sila. Okay? Okay, ganyan yung itsura nila. Meron sa libro mas maayos na drawing. Gusto ko lang siya i-drawing ngayon. Okay? So, walang electric field line sa almost sa gitna nila. Okay? Kuwari, nakatayo ka sa gitna. Pink na lang. Nakatayo ka sa gitna. So, kuwari charge ka. Kuwari may charge ka. Yan. Wala ka mararamdaman sa gitna kasi, mapansin mo, yung same amount yung makukuha mo dito. Same amount yung makukuha mo dito. So, walang electric field sa gitna. Therefore, walang force sa gitna. Therefore, hindi magbabago yung motion mo kapag nasa gitna ka. Okay? Nice, di ba? And then, if we have positive and negative charge, this is easier kasi alam mo that positive to negative yung motion yung directions ng electric field lines mo. So, you have this, you have this. Positive to negative, connect mo sila. Okay? Inward yung di ba? Inward electric field na negative charge. So you have to draw it inward like this. And then we have lines like this. And lines like this. Okay. Amazing. Pwede pa nga silang connect na ganyan. Okay? Okay. So, ganyan yung itsura nila. Kapag meron kang positive and negative. So, merong mga application ata sa internet wherein you can see electric field lines. Siyempre, 2D lang yung kaya natin drawing for a flat surface. Pero in fact, they are 3D. And may mga images sa Google na gusto nyo, kung curious kayo. Okay, let's have another example. Negative. Okay, parang ganyan yung tatlong charge. Okay. Alam, for curiosity's sake, di ba? Okay. So these lines would actually determine how your charges move. So kaya din siya tinawag na electric field kasi it gives you a field wherein nakalagay doon yung mga possible ways of crossing that field. Okay? The electric field tells you where to go. Okay. In the same way, meron din tayong gravitational field pero hindi na natin ginagamit. Okay? Kasi mahina yung gravity. Weak shit. Okay. Now we proceed, no? So meron tayong ganun. Oh no, magte-10 na pala. So tapos na dapat tayo. Pero okay, magse-set up lang tayo. So hindi ko kayo pagsusolve ng mga integrals, no? Well, sana hindi to lumabas sa kasi wala akong control sa ibibigay na questions na kabilang class. Hopefully, walang gantong tanong. But let's try para makita nyo how it works kahit pa paano. So may positive charge Q daw that is distributed uniformly along the y-axis between A and negative A. So let's draw. Okay, this is X, this is Y. And you have some charge that is distributed on this is negative A, this is A. Okay. Uniformly distributed. So parang may rod ka dun sa ano na. May rod ka sa y-axis mo. Okay? May rod ka na merong charge Q. And then you need to find the electric field at point P at some distance x at the x-axis from the origin. So gusto mo lang malaman dito, okay, kung paano yung electric field mo. Okay? So syempre, let's take a look. Dahil yung electric field mo, di ba? K Q over R squared. Ito yung magnitude ng electric field mo for one charge, for one Q charge. Okay. And then we know by superposition na mag-add lang siya na mag-add. Mag-add lang siya na mag-add normally. So you can try to add those little bits of things there from charge. Okay. And to do that mathematically, you need to do an integral. Nag-math 85 na ba kayo? Check mark kung okay. Nag-math 85 na ba kayo? Okay. So yung math 85 may integral, tama ba? Thumbs up kung meron. Okay. So may integral. So marunong na pala kayo mag-integral. Ang dali ng mga example natin kanina. Okay. Okay. So we need to consider every small particle, every small charge here. So we can call this guy. Sige. Try natin yung ibang color. Okay, we can call that guy DQ. DQ. Okay. Galaxy color. Okay. So in a sense, kailangan natin mabuo yung total electric field by building the small blocks or building the infinitesimal bits of that system. So DE would be your infinitesimal or small electric field. Then K is K. Then you have to get the small bits of charges. R squared. Okay? Now, Yung dq would be the smallest charge here, di ba? So yung total, yung buong rod would have q. So balik na tayo. The total would be q total. Diba? So if you want to get the small part of that, kailangan mo siya i-divide by its total length, which is q over 2a. Tama ba? Okay. Tapos, multiplyan mo siya nung haba nung small bit mo. Okay? Yung small part mo. Okay. So, ito yung pinaka-density niya. So, multiplyan mo siya ng onting length para makuha yung small bit na yan. Okay? So, we have to replace things. This is k q over 2a times dy. Okay? Dahil nasa y mo bubuuin yung buong rod ng charges. And then r squared would dahil yung r squared mo, this guy, ito yun, the distance between that small bit to the point P or point X. Okay? So, pag gumalaw yung small bit mo, as it goes from A to negative A, or the other way around, if gusto mo ganun, magbabago rin yung R mo. Di ba? So, yung R dapat, in terms of variable, dapat yan. Okay. Pangit. Dapat pare-parehas ng kulay. Okay. So, dapat si R squared ay si R squared ay ayaw niya magpalit ng kulay. Okay. So, si R squared ay x squared. Pythagorean theorem lang. Y squared square root. Tama ba? Tama. Kasi x squared, y squared, tapos yung r would be the square root of that, tapos naka-square, magka-cancel lang. Definitely, ang mangyayari ay k q over 2a dy and then x squared plus y squared. Okay, naka-galaxy colors. Okay, so that's DE. Okay. Now, di ba ang force na kaakibat niya, or electric field, would be pointing this way. Okay? And you can see here na meron silang symmetry dahil yung rod ay nasa gitna or nasa from negative A to A, tapos yung point naman na tinitingnan mo would be the point that is midway between them. Very similar siya sa problem natin kanina. You could see that this small bit actually cancels the vertical part of this guy. And this small bit there, cancel this part, and so on and so forth. Puro magka-cancel yung mga vertical parts nila. So by symmetry, ang matitira na lang would be the x components. Okay? So the x components na lang. So ang magandang technique na gawin is to get just the x part. And to do that, dE times cosine theta. And that is, yung theta na lang yung poproblemahin mo. Okay? So theta is here. And then, doing so, it's actually dE times yung adjacent. Ang cosine theta mo would be adjacent over the hypotenuse, which is this guy, x over r. X over r. So x over, what is r? Square root ng x squared plus y squared X over R. Okay? So, combining these two, hindi pa rin ako makapagpalit ng colors. Wait lang. Okay. Combining these two, ayan, nakapagpalit na ako ng color. Yung D ko would be KQ over 2A dy x, tapos ito ay x squared plus y squared, tapos over another one here, x squared plus y squared. I could write this as 1/2. Then I'm left with rewriting this down would be KQ over 2A x dy. That's x squared plus y squared 3/2. Okay? Okay. Nice, di ba? So, hindi ko na kayo pupulisin kung paano nyo solve to. You get your table of integrals, etc. You try this on internet kung paano nyo solve. Okay? Okay lang sa akin. Wala akong ano. Okay? So, ang mahalaga is tama yung setup mo. Okay? So, I disregarded DEY kasi alam ko at the end it would cancel out. So, the electric field is would be the integral of this from negative A to A. So, you plug in this whole thing there. KQ over 2A. Lalabas lang din naman yung mga constants. So, pinasok ko na lang. X dy 3/2 ng x squared plus y squared. Okay? And the direction would be x hat because positive yung charge mo dito. Okay? And kapag ginawa mo to, okay, tingnan natin yung sagot. Would be nice to know the answer. The answer for this guy is E. K Q over X squared plus A. Yes. Plus A squared. Okay. X hat. Okay, so that's the final answer for this. Now, if you want an extremely long rod, so you have to make A much greater than X. A much greater than X. Ang mangyayari is that what you can do is you factor out A squared from the denominators, from the square root. So, lalabas siya ng square root, di ba? Kasi A squared siya. Lalabas siyang ganyan. Ang matitira sa loob ng square root mo would be plus 1 x squared over A squared. But you have this assumption that A is much larger than X. So, therefore, this guy cancels out. Mag-zero out na lang siya. And you're left with K over Q X over A. Okay, X hat. And what's nice about this is that you can add a factor of 2. Okay? And then 2K. Okay. Tapos yung Q over 2A, nalaman na natin kanina yan, that would be the density of your rod, di ba? The density of your rod. So I can write them down as something like, tawagin natin siyang lambda. Okay? Exactly. So this is actually 2K lambda over X hat. Or in terms of epsilon, this is 1 over 2 pi epsilon naught lambda over X hat. Okay, this would be useful in the next week discussions. Kung bakit ko pinakita yung solution niya. Okay? So to obtain this, we have to go through these integrals and so on and so forth. But next week we'll have a simpler way of doing things. Okay? Okay. So last part na would be electric dipoles. Okay, dipole ibig sabihin dalawang pole, 'di ba? And familiar naman kayo sa dipoles dahil kayo ay biochem. 'Di ba? So alam niyo yung mga dipole yan. So mga polar molecules, those are dipole. Water molecules, 'di ba? Mukhang ano yun, mukhang Mickey Mouse. The oxygen and the hydrogen. So yung positive part would be the hydrogen. Tapos negative would be this. So meron kang 2 poles. 1, 2. Okay? Meron kang ganyan. So model mo siya as a dipole. So ano ba yung dipole na yun? So yung dipole could be characterized as P. Okay, this is a vector P. Tapos yung vector niya nasa distance D. Okay, so yung D would be the distance between two charges. Okay, so yung dipole ay two charges. Opposing charges. So, kasi hindi naman pwedeng plus-plus kasi hindi naman siya magiging dipole, di ba? Kasi kailangan two poles. Two distinct poles. So, if you have a distance D that separates two charges, plus and minus, then you have a dipole. Okay. Okay. So, kaya yung mga molecules natin sa katawan, in general, they would move, di ba? Para silang may sariling buhay dahil most of our matter is made up of different charges. So, may mga electric field yan. Yung mga dipole mo kasi gumagalaw kapag merong electric field. Okay? So, let's try to imagine things. Kuwari meron kang electric field. Okay. Electric field ka E, pointing to the right. And then you have your dipole. Okay, separated by a distance D. Okay. What you want to do is to find out. So ito ay gawin natin plus ito. Plus Q minus Q. Okay. So di ba pag may charge ka within an electric field, it would feel forces. Tama? So negative at positive may ma-feel silang charge due to the electric field. Okay? And mapansin nyo, they are constrained by a distance D. So therefore, ang nangyari sa kanila is that itong positive mo, makaka-experience siya ng force na pag-ganon. Kasi pag-ganon yung electric field. Tapos ito naman, pabaliktad kasi it points towards negative yung charge niya. I'm so sorry. Okay? Now, let's calculate the torque. Okay, so yung force and torque para silang similar quantities. So yung force determines how much or how your motion will change. Okay. Tapos yung torque would be how much your rotation would change. Okay. So yung electric fan mo, naka-number 1 lang. Ibig sabihin, walang torque doon kasi hindi nagbabago yung motion niya. Kapag nilipat mo sa 2, mag-i-increase yung rotation niya. So therefore, may torque. Okay? Okay. Similarly, sa force, ganun din. Kapag yung kotse mo, constant velocity lang, or nakahinto ka, there is no change in motion. Okay? So walang force. However, pag nag-accelerate ka or decelerate, that would give you a force. Okay. So the dipole, here, meron siya nararamdaman na force na pa ganun dahil sa electric field and the same as the negative charge. Okay? So yung torque is usually given by R cross F. Okay? And cross is your cross product. Yung kailangan nyo ng angle. Okay? So let's denote an angle here. theta kunyari, theta. So let's try to do this R cross F. Okay, so yung R cross F, kuwari, hinati ko sa gitna yung D. So that's D over 2. Tapos yung F ko would be Q, E, tapos sine theta. Okay, so yung sine theta nanggaling siya sa cross product. Then for the other one, plus negative D over 2, tapos negative QE, sine theta pa rin dahil ito ay geometry. And it turns out that you have your QD, E sine theta, and then QD is, we know, E sine theta, and you have your torque looking like E cross E. Okay, so that's your torque. And then, merong derivation na to sa libro, yung dipole, sa potential energy. Pero kulang na tayo sa time. So let's just leave it like this. So ito ay U, negative P dot E. So dot product naman, ang bibigay naman yan, cosine. E cosine theta. Okay? So let's look at this. Kapag naka-align na yung charge mo, so kapag naka-align na siya dito, this is your plus, this is your minus. Nasa stable configuration na siya. Kasi yung plus mo, yung plus charge mo, naka-point na yung force na mararamdaman niya towards that and towards this. So no rotation can happen kapag nakaganto na siya. And ano yung angle nito? 0 degrees. So 0 degrees, that's cosine 0. So let's try different values. Cosine 0, and that gives me 1. So negative P E. Okay? How about yung kabilang configuration naman? Kapag nakandito yung positive dito, tas negative dito, ang force na mararamdaman ng plus would be going to this way, and the negative charge would be going to this way. So very unstable siya. Pwede siyang, pag nausog mo lang siya ng onte, iikot siya pa ganun or pa ganun. Okay? And same for the other one. Pa ganun. And yung angle nito would be, again, nakabase sa positive sign yung angle mo. So that would be 180 degrees or pi. PE cosine 180 or pi kung gusto nyo. So that's negative 1. So times negative 1. That gives me positive PE. So dyan nakukuha yung mga potential energy ng mga usual molecules. Okay. Lalo na sa mga benzene. Benzene pa ganyan yan. Tapos pag kinabitan mo siya ng weird atoms, meron siya minsan mag-a-align sila or whatever configuration. Minsan magsasama sila pataas or pababa yung isa. Dahil gusto nila, ang gusto ng mga molecules mo, to go to the lowest potential energy. Okay? Mansin nyo dito, negative PE, dun siya sa stable. Sa stable configuration niya. And yung highest energy would be the opposing configuration, which is very unstable. So, ayan. Okay, so that's it for today. Sorry, nag-extend ng 2 minutes. See you all next week, no? Dahil ito ay... Okay, so thank you. That's it for today. All right.